Hi, I'm Jessica with Mill Street Florist.
Hi, I'm Sofian with Mill Street Florist.
We're doing things a little bit differently this year. We're filming in our store to bring you some beautiful holiday ideas for your Christmas decor. We're going to start with a topiary arrangement. This is an arrangement that would look beautiful in your hall entrance or on an island. It's something that can be seen from all the way around or from just one angle. So we're going to start with a beautiful round pot. You can do this in a square pot, round pot, whatever you'd like. Like something with a little bit of weight to it, because this arrangement will have a little bit of height. We've put our floral foam in the container, remembering to leave about 1 inch or so of the floral foam on the top. We've also taped this, which is not necessary for home arrangements. It's more for delivery purposes. But I also find when you've taped something, you get a nice grid, so you can follow the grid and make sure that everything is even. So these arrangements, like an urn, have tall aspects to them. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the amaryllis in first, because if you start putting your greenery in the floral foam, it's going to be difficult to get your straight piece straight into the oasis, because there'll be pieces of branch in the way. So this is what we're going to do here with our beautiful amaryllis. This is also a wonderful arrangement for the fall. We do this with sunflowers. Anything that has any kind of impact with a skinny stem can create that topiary look. So you want to make sure you cut your flowers in proportion to your container. You don't want something up here. It's going to make your container look a little bit small, a little bit silly. So we want to figure out the length we want here and cut our amaryllis. Now, putting amaryllis in oasis can be difficult, so some people do like to maybe make a hole beforehand, but we're going to just go ahead and try here. You don't need to get amaryllis too far into the oasis. They do absorb water fairly easily. If it's not straight right away, that's okay, because we are going to kind of manipulate it after with some wire. So we're going to take our second one. You want them to be the same height. I'm going to push this guy over a little bit. See, so this is not going to work. I can't get my amaryllis into the floral foam that far, so I'm going to cut more to make sure they're the same height. So once you've made these holes for your amaryllis, the base of this arrangement is going to last a lot longer than the amaryllis flowers themselves. But once these holes are in here, all you need to do is pull out your dead amaryllis, and you'll be able to stick new amaryllis in those existing holes, and your arrangement will last quite a while. So we're putting a third one in here that's going to be facing the back, making this an arrangement that's being viewed from all sides. You don't need to do that. If your budget doesn't allow, or if you're putting it in a space that's where it's only being seen from one side, go ahead and just put 2 in. Okay. There we go, perfect. So once these amaryllis are in full bloom, this will look quite beautiful. The flowers will be seen from all sides. Ooh, see, and then that's something that happens often with amaryllis. So we'll just grab a new one here, because we have them. If you don't have them, what I would do is, we don't have them up here. So this is what I would do. You just cut where you've broken there, make a new hole, because I can't get it in that far. And what we're gonna try to do here is even out our amaryllis. There we go. So that break happened low on the stem. If you're when you're putting your amaryllis in, you do want to support them down here with your hand, so that if they do break, the break will be low on your stem. You don't want to be holding up here, because then you can break them right here. Okay, so now we have them all at the same height. So we're going to take some bind wire. We'll take a little bit more than that. So whenever you're using wire in an arrangement, you want to use enough that it looks like you're doing this on purpose. that it's part of the arrangement. And we're going to just make a nice little, you could use a beautiful ribbon here. A nice red ribbon would be really pretty. You could use twine, would be beautiful. You just wrap it around just so that this keeps its shape. Again, this is something more we would do in the flower shop when we are making an arrangement that was going to go out on delivery, because it's in the truck bouncing around. So this is something that would just make sure that this arrangement holds its form. At home, it's not as necessary. So now we've made a nice thick band of the wire. We're just going to tie it. You could also hang some little tiny pine cones here. It'd be really sweet. There's lots of variations to all these little details that we put into flower arrangements. Okay, so now we have our amaryllis safely in our floral foam. And now we're going to start the Biedermeier part of this arrangement. So this is a round container, so it lends itself to a round pattern. So I have picked some small magnolia leaves because you want everything to be in scale. If you had a huge magnolia leaf that came out to here, then your arrangement is off balance. We want this to be the focal point, so we don't want the base to overpower our beautiful amaryllis. So I've picked some tiny magnolia leaves. Magnolia leaves often will have a little bump here once you've taken them off the stem, so you do want to remove that so that your leaves go into your foam nice and cleanly. It is also important that you kind of angle them downwards. See, we've already run into our amaryllis there. Because you don't want them going like this, because then you're going to see your tape, and it's also just not as pretty as when they're kind of cascading down. So we've got that. So we're going to do this all the way around our arrangement. The other downfall of using tape is that then you have to hide it. So this guy's too big. I'm just going to cut the leaf completely so I can get that guy in there. So like I was saying earlier, magnolia leaves last forever. Just the base of this arrangement is going to last a very, very long time for you. This is also an arrangement you could make without the amaryllis. Just a nice low centerpiece style arrangement, which we've talked about before, is called a Biedermeier, when there's a round pattern in your arrangement. So we've taken the magnolia all the way around. And now we're going to get our next element is going to be crab apples. They're great for this style of arrangement because they're round to begin with. So it's just repeating that round shape. And we're going to use toothpicks, and we're going to bring them all the way around our arrangement. If you want to be really delicate, you could use things like cranberries too. We have done that. That's very time consuming. And sometimes I find when things are too small, they don't have the impact that you would like. So for an arrangement this size, something like cranberries wouldn't really work for us. You'd have to use a lot of them. Another thing that would be really beautiful would be tangerines. We hung some beautiful oranges on our porch this year with cloves in them. It's one of my favorite things we've done in a long time. I do like orange for Christmas as well. I think we all know that. So we're going to keep bringing these around until you've got your come full circle. And then the next element we're going to do, and Sophia's going to help me with that so you don't have to watch us put a million little pine cones in the arrangement, are pine cones. And we're doing that also because we have our brown in the magnolia, then we have our red in the apples, and then we're going to bring the brown in again with the pine cones. But now that I'm looking at this, I've run out of room. And flower arrangements are always an evolving thing. You have an idea in your mind when you start, and it has to change sometimes. And I want to have red roses in this arrangement. If I put pine cones in, I've run out of room in my floral foam. So we're going to nix the pine cones, and we're going to go ahead and put our red roses in. Okay, and they're just going to come. It's okay. So this is where it might get a little bit tricky because you might start bumping into your amaryllis stems. You can put a rose stem right through your amaryllis stem if you need to. That's the one nice thing about amaryllis, is they're quite, their stems are quite soft, so you can kind of work around them that way. If this was something like in a urn with birch poles, you wouldn't be able to stick anything through your birch poles. But those are the joys of amaryllis. So you also don't want to keep your you don't want to cut your roses too short, but they don't need to be super long either. The floral foam, because you should be adding water every day, will keep the stems nice and moist. Lost my knife again. Here we go. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yes, that's very beautiful. And roses cut short, they last a very, very long time. And like I said, your apples and your magnolia are going to last for you. This is something you can change the flowers out quite easily. Oh, I think it looks beautiful. Okay, so for our next arrangement, and this is one of my favorites. We did this in the summertime with the word love, and we used thistle, berries, hypericum berry, little spray roses, and billy balls, which are those little yellow balls, and we wrote the word love in 4 different colors with the 4 different letters. This is a tray, a made in Ontario tray that we have here, and then we've put a plastic liner in it, which is just a sheet of heavy plastic that you lay over top of your box, and then you push your floral foam down on top of the plastic, and then you trim the plastic after. So the goal of this arrangement is to kind of make it look like a little flower arrangement inside the box. So you want the floral foam to sit underneath whatever container you've chosen to use. I also would love to think that maybe people lean this up on their windowsill. So for the arrangement to sit straight up, it will leak a little bit of water originally. You want the floral foam to be quite tight inside so that it doesn't fall out. Okay, so we're going to write the word joy. You could write Noel if you'd like. You could write the first letter of someone's name, or if they have a short name, you could write their name in this arrangement. What I would suggest doing before you start is taking your knife and writing the words in the floral foam so that everything's even. So we're gonna do joy, J. I can't see that very well here. Do it thicker. Joy. And you can't write too much in here because you do need the letters to be quite visible. You need more space than you think for the letters to actually show up properly. Okay, so I've written joy in there. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm happy with the placement of the letters. So the next step is choosing a flower that has enough impact that you'll see the letters. You don't want something that's too frilly or too busy because then it just blends in with the backdrop of the arrangement. So for today we've chosen white hypericum. I just think it's a nice, clean, kind of peaceful flower. And this is quite intricate. You're going to cut little tiny pieces. Now you want the berries though to sit higher than you would think, because what we're going to do for the base is moss. And if there's no difference between the height of the berries and the height of the moss, you kind of lose your words. And so you're gonna, and you don't want just one row of berry. You would do 2 or 3 berries wide so that you can really see your letter. You could do this with red hypericum if you'd like. You could do it with cranberries. You could do it with green hypericum. I find the green doesn't show up as well with the moss. Do you want to start writing joy? Do you want to do the Y? With white hypericum, we're going to do it all the same.
Okay.
So you could do 3 different colors if you'd like. It's really all up to you how you do this. And for the backdrop, you could lay cedar down flat if you'd like. I like the look of the moss. I also like the moss because you can get it really nice and flat. And again, always keep your stems longer than you think, because you can always cut your stems more. You cannot add back to your stems. If you've cut them too short, then they're too short. So, here, you need to make that a little bit tighter, Sofiane. Doo-doo. It's a lot more intricate than you think it is. These need to be a little bit tighter, closer together. You need the berries to almost be touching. If there's too much space between the berries, you'll lose your word. I think that this is joy. Now I got this idea when we first closed because of COVID. We had quite a few flowers in the shop that I wanted to try and dry so that I could write a word in stems with dried greenery and dried flowers. For some reason, I was not able to dry flowers successfully, so I was not able to write a word in dried flowers, so then we chose to write a word in fresh flowers. We found these boxes at the Toronto Gift Show last year. We were very happy to meet the owner of this company, a small company in North Bay. And they make beautiful boxes.
And trays.
And trays, yeah. Perfect.
My white is nicer.
Your Y is nicer, yes. There you go. And again, this arrangement is also extremely long lasting. My paraffin lasts forever. Your Y is going too far down.
Oh.
There. That guy's gotta come out. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Do I have a little bit here? That's fine.
No, that's fine. You can also add, after you put the moss in, a little bit. You can kind of clean up your letters.
Okay.
Thank you. I think
Enough?
our O is a little bit off here, but we'll see once we put the moss in.
Where's the moss?
The moss is right there. Okay. Our O is not perfectly round. We'll see. So then you're gonna take your moss and you really want to press it down because you want, like I said before, there to be a difference in the height of your letters and the backdrop. And we want the green part of the moss. You could also, if you have tiny little pine cones, they could be the backdrop. They would be really sweet. You just really, with this arrangement, I've tried different things. The simpler the ingredients, the more obvious what you've written is. I've tried to get a little bit more creative with it, and then I find you can't read what it says, or you kind of lose the image you're going for. It's very pretty.
I can read.
You can read it? I think we need to put a little bit more berries in here though. Let's get this one haywire on there. I'm really pushing that moss down because it's a little bit too high. And we need to fix our O. So this is where you would just come in at the end and just add a few berries and take a few away where you've gotten a little bit carried away. Like right here. Okay, what do you think? We need some berry there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sure.
Perfect. So I think in total we used about 4 stems of hypericum. So that's, you know, not a large investment. And you could make these in any container really you have at home. So it's a fairly inexpensive, very sweet little arrangement. So if you're wanting the flowers to stand straight up, you should pin the moss in with some ferning pins. And so there you have joy.
Okay, so now we're back and I'm going to make a nice cozy ball. I'm going to show you how to make it, and because of my accent, my French accent, Jess is going to explain the steps for me. It's going to be easier this way.
Okay, so this is a classic Mill Street Florist arrangement. We make tons of them at Christmas. They're wonderful centerpieces. They look great on a coffee table, on a side table. They last a really long time. As I've told you before, anytime flowers are cut short, they last longer for you. So, Sofian has started with his magnolia leaves. So this is another, like all flower arrangements, it's just patterns. You're repeating a pattern. So you have a brick of oasis in here that you can draw your lines in if you'd like to follow, okay? So he's put 2 magnolia leaves on either side of his floral foam, and now he's just going to start with lines through his floral foam to fill this whole arrangement. So we're going to green it first. As you make all flower arrangements, you green them first. So now he's going to put some beautiful cedar in his arrangement. This is something too you can customize to your liking. If you don't like cedar, you don't need to use cedar. You could use some beautiful Carolina sapphire. It's a beautiful Christmas greens. We're going to be putting boxwood in it. We're not putting pine in it. I don't love working with pine, so we're not going to use it. But pine can be quite beautiful. He's cutting his stems quite short. You don't want them to overpower. Again, if you green a big arrangement, then you have to make a big arrangement. So you want to keep your greens to scale before you start, so that you don't have this massive bowl that you need to fill full of tons of flowers. Make sure that your stems are clean when you're putting them in the floral foam. You don't want to have little bits left on them. It just makes it harder to insert your flowers after. Okay, so now he's moved on to his boxwood. It's very easy to get off of your pattern. So when you notice that you have kind of deviated from the pattern, you should fix it as soon as you notice the problem, because it will cause issues with the end result of your flower arrangement. So I'm just going to help him here too. So we get this finished. That. You should leave. Don't overgreen your arrangement either, then that makes it difficult to get flowers in it. You can always add greenery at the end if you need to, but I would leave really the top of your oasis bare for now. Okay, there we go. You also want to make sure all your stems are going in the floral foam in the same direction. You don't want to have them fighting with each other, because then it's, again, when you go to put the flowers in, if you have stems going in every different direction, it will make it difficult for you to get the most important part in, which is the flowers. So everything should be kind of going into a focal point in your floral foam. Okay? So now he's on to his last green.
Don't forget to clean your stem.
Yes. And this is Noble Fir. I love the kind of the blue tint that it has. It's very pretty. So here's his greened base. Oops, there we got water all over our table. But now you can see the nice clean lines here of the different greenery in your magnolia. Okay? Yep. And now we're going to put in some other nice accents. We're going to put some pine cones and some mushrooms. So the pine cones, you want them to be the opposite of the magnolia. It's another brown element in your arrangement. So he's going to put those in. You need to put, I would put 4 in. It's fine, just put them in. They'll be fine. There we go. Perfect. We'll get the other ones in here. So this is a large posy bowl, so we're using large pine cones. If it was a smaller arrangement, you'd be using smaller pine cones. Oops. There we go. So we're just going to push that guy in a little bit further. And now we're going to put the mushrooms in, because the mushrooms just add another natural element, more texture to your arrangement. So these are dried, preserved mushrooms that we have here at the flower shop. Yeah. Right down to the oasis. There you go. And they're quite large, so you only need 1 on each side. Okay. And then we're going to put a little bit of curly willow in this. Curly willow adds texture, it adds depth, it just makes everything a little bit prettier. This is something, you can add the curly willow at the end if you'd like. Sometimes it's difficult to work around, so we're not going to put too much of it in. We're just going to put a little bit in, because it can really decide your arrangement if you have too much in. It makes it difficult to place the flowers. And like I said, it's something you could add at the end. It doesn't even need to be in the floral foam if you don't want it to. You could just place it. You can cut that. We don't have a Dixon pin up here, so just cut them and put them in the floral foam. Perfect. There you go. I'm going to put 1 more in. Beautiful. And if it's a little bit high at the beginning, when you're putting your flowers in, you'll be able to kind of lower it with the insertion of your flowers. And it also looks beautiful. It gives the arrangement a little bit of height if you do want to keep it tall. Okay. There we go. You can also wire it if you need to, if you don't get it into the oasis as cleanly as you'd like. we can just pull this down here and wire it to itself. Okay, so there. That guy's not going anywhere now. Okay, so now he's going to put his flowers in. He's going to start with his focal point, the center of the arrangement. We're going to use a pincushion protea with a bit of orange in, well, it is orange. As you know, as I've said many times, I do love orange with Christmas arrangements. It just adds a little bit of depth to your color palette. So he's going to insert that in the floral foam.
And clean my stem.
It's very clean. It's good. It's perfect. Okay. So that's beautiful right off the bat. You can't go wrong now. So he's going to now add some beautiful roses. These are called black baccarat. They're a very, very dark rose. They're quite beautiful when they open up. They have like a velvet type look to them. Very, very pretty. So he's going to add those on opposite sides of the bowl, continuing following his pattern of lines throughout the arrangement, okay? Very pretty. There we go.
A lot of sand now.
Yeah, so this is where it gets tricky because you do have quite a few insertions in your floral foam. But that's what's nice about working with roses is they have a really nice strong stem. If we were trying to put amaryllis into something like this right now, it'd be impossible. So you do need to choose your product and put it into the floral foam accordingly. So now he's almost done with his roses. And we were going to put gerbera in this arrangement, but again, like the first arrangement we made, our evolving arrangement, we don't think we need gerbera in this arrangement anymore. It's beautiful as it is, and we want to keep room for the pièce de résistance. There's my French. There's some beautiful orchids. Again, with a gold hue to them. They're quite beautiful, very long-lasting flowers. This just kind of brightens up this arrangement. Just adds a little bit of exotic, an exotic feel to it. Very, very beautiful. So he's going to get these. He's lost his knife, which is a never-ending problem in the flower shop. So he's going to get his orchids in here. Very pretty. Perfect. Now it's getting very tricky because you're really running out of space here, so.
It is.
There you go. Beautiful.
I'm going to add a little bit of hypericum.
And then this green hypericum is an excellent addition to any flower arrangement. The lime green really makes all the colors come together, and it also really brightens up an arrangement that might be a little bit dark and moody. You add some lime green to it, and everything comes together. So this is the finishing touches. You could use a burgundy hypericum as well, but really we're big fans of the green hypericum here. And green is really considered a neutral color. You could put it with anything. Okay.
Here.
Yeah. Now you're basically also covering up the little bits of oasis that are left that you don't want to be seeing when the arrangement's finished. Okay.
Just going to have a little bit piece here. Yeah, I think it should be good.
Yeah. And I think our curly willow is a little bit too tall here, so we're going to wire it down. Or bend it. That's the nice thing about curly willow too. If it's not doing what you want it to do, you can just break it. There. Up. I'm going to pull it out here. Pull it out, and we're going to put it down lower in the floral foam. There. That's better. Take that guy out. Bend it. Make it do what you want it to do. And and get it back in the floral foam there. There, beautiful. So I think we could add a little bit more hypericum to this too, just to give it a little bit more depth. And, oh yeah, we can also put crab apples in here.
I have some.
Yes. I broke my stem again. So when you break a stem, you want to cut the flower above the break before you put it back in the oasis. And there we go. Perfect. Beautiful. Adding fruits to arrangements, especially at Christmas time, you know, just adds that extra little punch. You could add grapes, artichoke, pomegranate, whatever really you would like. It's just another small detail that makes a big difference at the end when your guests are sitting there, sitting on your table and they can see it close up. It's really nice to have lots of little hidden surprises inside your arrangements. Okay, so now he's pretty much done with his crab apples. And these we're using shish kebab sticks you can get at the grocery store because the toothpicks are not long enough to get you the length that you need. So
the one here.
beautiful. So I'm gonna spill water again, but just so you can kind of see the end result. We'll take pictures of everything at the end so you can see. But this is a very beautiful flower arrangement. This will last a very, very long time. Now we're gonna make a modern version of a Christmas classic, the long and low. Typically made in floral foam, sitting very low on the table, where you don't really even notice the container it's in. It's covered in greenery, usually made in a plastic black dish. We're gonna make this in a beautiful glass vase. Now this is a great vase to have at home all year round. Vases this size are great for making flower arrangements inside. You could just put some nice rocks in here, sit an orchid in there with a little bit of ivy. Very, very beautiful. Easy to do, great vase to have on hand. So we're gonna put some curly willow in here. I would suggest doing this before you put water in your vase because the curly willow can put up a fight. I would make sure you have some of the thicker part of the curly willow to use because that really jams it inside your vase. So you're gonna take the butt end of your curly willow and put it in the corner, and you're gonna push your curly willow down inside your vase until it does not pop out anymore. Then you're left with all these bits flying around up here that you're going to tame a little bit because this is a centerpiece. And you're going to do that with your floral wire. Curly willow is great because it's quite pliable, so you really can make it do anything you want with enough effort and willpower. So I've tied that down. I'm going to tie this guy down. Okay. And bring this guy around here. And our base is done. So the curly willow will last almost indefinitely in your vase. So once you've done this, you can remove your fresh flowers whenever you'd like, and you'll always have this base to make a flower arrangement in, really. So now we have one here with the water added, and we're gonna start our flower arrangement. So typically more modern arrangements have less greenery in them. It doesn't mean you don't want to have any. You could make this with no greenery, it would look stunning, but we are gonna put a little bit of greenery in there. We're gonna use my favorite, which is cedar. And if it looks like all these pieces are pre-cut, it's because they are. Because we filmed this once before and the camera wasn't on. So all of our pieces fit nicely into this vase now. When you're working with vase arrangements, you still need to make sure that your stems are clean, because if you leave little bits on them, the water will get dirty very quickly. That will not look nice and will also shorten the life of your flowers. You want to keep the water as clean as possible. So we're just putting a few little pieces in here. At the beginning in these type of arrangements, your stems will want to float up to the top. You want to try to catch them on the curly willow so they stay in the water. So we've got that guy. This little beautiful piece. Now you do want to kind of get them in on an angle so that they do droop over the side of your vase. And take that off. There we go. And one last piece here. Okay. Now I'm going to put some boxwood in. This is a nice bulky greenery, but still very clean. You want to try to keep everything kind of minimal in these arrangements. So we've got that guy there. This would be beautiful actually with just greenery. You could just green a vase like this and it would be stunning. But we're going to add flowers, of course. We're making an all white arrangement, which I don't normally do, but I do love the look of an all white arrangement. Mixing white with other colors can be difficult, so I prefer, when working with white flowers, to do all white. So I've got this guy right here in the middle. Okay. Also, just because you're doing something modern and you're working with a glass vase doesn't mean you can't add some fun organic elements. This kind of softens the look of the vase. We're going to put some pine cones in here drooping over the side. And these just have wood picks on them. If you don't have wood picks, you could wire your pine cone to the curly willow. I'm going to get that guy in here. There we go. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And this type of arrangement is the same as you keep hearing me say over and over again. It's just repetition. So whatever I do on this side, I'm doing on this side. Perfect. Done. So now we're going to put our flowers in, and we're going to start with white hydrangea. Hydrangea is great for this style of arrangement, and typically if you cut hydrangea short and you support it on your vase, it does last longer cut that way. Okay, so we've got a nice beautiful stem of hydrangea here. Boom. One in the middle, and then so really this arrangement could be done right now. We often send out beautiful vases of just hydrangea. It's very pretty, elegant, classic, but we're going to add a few more flowers here today just to give it a little bit more interest. So now we're going to do some white roses. And this is where you want to really group your flowers to keep that modern look. Okay, so we're going to put two roses together here on this side. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now when you're also making arrangements like this, you want to make sure your arrangement actually goes down on top of the vase. Sometimes that's hard to see right there. So yeah, right here we have a space here, so we want to make sure that gets filled, which we can do at the end of our arrangement. So now we're going to put some nice white gerbera in. He's going to fill up that space for me right now. We're going to do 2 and 2. So these are groups of 2, and some people do prefer a group of 3. I find in an arrangement like this, where there's so much going on, you really wouldn't notice, and it would be hard to get a group of 3 in here. But if you do start in groups of 2, I would continue in groups of 2. Okay? So this guy is going to come down here. And up here. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to add one of my favorite flowers, which is green trick. And this is where I'm going to fix this problem right here. Okay? I'm going to stick this guy right down in here. Okay? That looks good? Mm-hmm. It's hard to see the other side of my arrangement. Do the same thing over here. These will last forever. They're a great addition to any flower arrangement. I'm gonna put one right in the middle. Here we go. And we'll just do a few more because you can't go wrong adding green. Okay, same thing on the other side. So you can keep adding and adding and adding to these arrangements. The more you add to them, the more unique they are. They really are great arrangements to work with texture. So we're gonna put some green hypericum in here. And once you've put your base flowers into an arrangement like this, so this is too short. I can tell you look down under here, I can see that it's not gonna go in the water. So I have to put this in a different place where it's able to get to the water. So there we go. Here's a nice tall piece. So he's gonna come right here. And I put him on too much of an angle. You wanna make sure you're kind of putting the stem straight down. Otherwise, when you start to lose the water in your vase, you're gonna lose those flowers. Perfect. Okay. You could put Brussels sprouts in this. That would be really fun. That would be a really interesting green to put in here. An artichoke. Okay. Now we're gonna put one of my favorite things, another one of my favorite things, scabiosa pods. And this is kind of replicating the texture and the color of the pine cones. So it's a nice addition to this arrangement. I'm gonna put two up here in the middle. And now I'm breaking a rule. I'm just gonna put one over here. And one over here. Now this might bother some people. Some people really, the patterns really stand out to some people, so there's no harm in putting 2 and 2 for a total of 6, but you don't need that. So this creates a nice beautiful line through the center of the arrangement. And then I had a set of lights up here. Here they are. I love adding lights to all white arrangements. And one of the benefits of hydrangea is it hides all sorts of things. So we can just kind of stick our light battery pack in our hydrangea and nobody will see it. And we can take the lights through our beautiful all white modern Christmas centerpiece. Now we're going to be making a Christmas planter. These are nice to have around the house at this time of year because they're alive, and in this case especially, we're going to use an amaryllis bulb. You get to watch it grow. So we're going to start here with our planter. This is a watertight container. If your container is not watertight, all you need to do is use plastic plant liners to avoid damaging your furniture. So here we go. We have a beautiful Norfolk Island pine, which, remember, this is a tropical plant. It does like a lot of bright light. When you're picking your plants for a mixed planter, you should pick plants with similar light requirements. Water, not so much, because you can adjust the watering however you like when you keep them in their grower's pot when you put them in the planter. Okay, so now we're going to put our amaryllis bulb in here. Swish it in there. I've cut the tops of the pots off so you can't see them. I did leave a little bit of lip though, so that so they can retain the water. Okay, so now we're going to use some curly willow to frame our planter. When you're putting curly willow in an arrangement or in plants, you should try to put the curly willow off to the side to avoid damaging any of the roots. So we have some there and some here. Now this is also nice because it will support the amaryllis as it grows. Okay, so I'm going to bend that guy down, tie him over here. And then when picking material to put into a planter, you would like to try to pick things that are going to dry nicely. So next we're going to be putting in rose hips. So that's a nice shot of color, and the rose hips do dry. This is better than ilex because ilex will drop on your floor, and ilex does really need a water source. So the amaryllis is going to be red, so we're going to put the rose hips on the other side of the arrangement to repeat our red. gonna put a little bit more down here. Perfect. Then we're going to put some magnolia, which also dries really nicely, back here to balance with our Norfolk Island pine, because right now our amaryllis is not looking like too much. We're gonna put that down here. Nice backdrop. Now I'm going to add moss. Be careful adding moss. You don't want to put too much of it. It can, retain a little bit too much moisture. It can cause things to rot, but it is quite beautiful. So I'm just going to put a little bit of it in the front here, just to give it that, finished look. I am going to avoid covering the amaryllis bulb with it though. I'm just going to put a tiny bit here in the corner. Okay. And now at this point, you could add a beautiful Christmas ornament, would sit nicely in the front of this planter. We're gonna put this as a beautiful geode. So add a little bit of sparkle and put that guy right there. It's like you're making like a little forest scene here. And then just to finish it off, my favorite little pine cones. So you can stand them up if you'd like. You can hang them over the edge of the vase. I can't see what this looks like, just a second. I'm going to put them on the opposite side of my magnolia. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring them over here. And I'm going to put them hanging down over the side of my pot. You could put them standing up if you'd like. It's really all up to you. Okay. They're slightly different sizes too, which is nice, so that it doesn't look like just two of the exact same thing hanging down. So I think this is quite lovely little Christmas forest scene. Okay, so the next arrangement we're going to make is an example of thinking outside the box and repurposing things you have around your house. This is a beautiful candle holder we've had at the flower shop. We sold quite a few this summer, but we still have a few left, so I'm going to turn it into a Christmas arrangement. If you have lanterns at home that go outside that have little doors that open, you can always get a little piece of oasis in there and you can make a little flower arrangement and one of your summer lanterns turned to a Christmas lantern. So what I've done, this is what they look like originally. They have a little glass candle holder inside here. So I've taken a plastic plant liner and I put some oasis in it, and then I can just sit my candle holder back on top. And now I have some oasis to make a flower arrangement in. These are quite beautiful because they're very rustic looking to begin with. So that was kind of the inspiration for that. But we're just going to make a nice little collar of cedar all the way around. I'm just going to do the one side for the video. It'll be finished off for the person who wins it after. But there's lots of things lying around your house. Bird baths make beautiful flower arrangements. Lots of things we use on our summer patio that we don't think of using again for Christmas. But really, you add a little bit of cedar to anything and it's Christmas. So we're gonna get this in through here. You wouldn't necessarily need to have floral foam for this. It just makes it a little bit easier. You could just wire the cedar to this. If the object you've decided to use, you can't figure out how to get floral foam into it, I would wait till the first week of December when it's definitely cold out, and then you could make something like this without a water source. Just wiring or placing the cedar wherever you'd like it to be. I'm also going to put some berries in this, which is also why I want to have a water source. But this would look quite beautiful on your outdoor patio, by your hot tub, by your barbecue, whatever you have that makes the outdoors a little bit more enjoyable for our crazy winters. There we go. And we'll do this. I can't get my little hands or my big hands in there. There we go. One more. Does it look good from, you can see that it would be beautiful all the way around? Okay. And then just to finish this off, and this is another thing, you could just keep going with things like this. Sometimes less is more though. I always get these great ideas and then end up only doing half of what I thought I should do, because sometimes you just need to know when it looks beautiful and it's done. So here, I'm gonna put a beautiful stem of ilex right in there. I'll cut that shorter. There we go. Perfect. And we're just going to go all the way around with our ilex. Now, this is a small little piece of oasis, so it does get tricky. You will bump in to your previous stem, so that's okay. It's just kind of there to get the original placement in. You can wire this again too if you want to make it more sturdy. And there we go. So this will be quite beautiful when it's finished, and the ilex is going all the way around. Is it finished in the house? Okay, so all you need to do is put a nice little pillar candle in here, and this is a very lovely Christmas patio arrangement. Okay, so our final piece is going to be an outdoor urn. So I've covered up our beautiful live edge table made by our local Jerome Menton of 100 Acre Farms. He made this beautiful table for us. I just wanted to mention that. So we've covered it up because this can be messy. Now I know every year we do the same thing, but we all need a little refresher course on our urns. So we're going to start with the big pieces, which are the birch. And we're going to not hit the ceiling. We're going to put the birch, I would put it in as far as you can, just in case it gets particularly windy one day. We're going to put number 2. And then number 3. Okay. I'm just going to put this 4th piece in. 4 doesn't bother me. It may bother some people, but I'm okay with it. So here we go. So that's done. I'm going to put a little bit of curly willow in here now. And as far in as we can. There we go. Doesn't have to be even. Gives it a little bit more interest. The last tall pieces we're going to be putting in here are going to be your ilex berry. This is something too I would wait until it's quite cold to put out, because they can turn black. And also, unfortunately, sometimes the birds get to them, or the squirrels. Put this guy right here. Right down in there. This guy's got a crazy curve. I'm going to get him over there. And there we go. So now we're ready to put our greens in. And just like the posy bowl and the long and low, this is why you need to have enough oasis above your container here, because now you're going to start to put your greens in and you want them to kind of trail down. So if you didn't have enough oasis up top, it would make it a little bit harder to get that beautiful trailing effect. So I always put cedar in the front because I love cedar. This is a nice droopy piece. There we go. And then you do want to bring it up a little bit to cover your oasis. And this is what I'm talking about earlier with the amaryllis. We could get around the amaryllis stems. Pretty hard to get around these birch stems. So you have to work around them or work with them. And then you'll do the same in the back here. So I won't fully finish the back again, just to save us a little bit of time. I'll put a little bit in here to give you the idea. Okay, and then I have some noble fir. I'm gonna come right in the front here. Again, clean off your stems. It's very pretty. And there you go. And I think last year I did all the same greenery, which is still my favorite way to do it, but we need to change things up a little bit. If you are going to do multiple types of greenery though, I really do suggest grouping them as strongly as you can, because otherwise it just starts to look a little bit messy. Is there a big hole there, Sophia? Right here?
Yep.
Yeah? I'll get one more piece in there. Is this good now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Right.
Okay, so then we'll put a little bit of that in the back. I always use the butt end pieces in the back because they're not as pretty, but we want to use everything we have. Okay, so get that in here. Okay, now for our final green will be magnolia. Now I always kind of put it sticking up a little bit in the back, just because it's pointless if you have it facing downward. So there you go. And in the front, I will have it pointing down, because you can see it better that way. And you can bring it up into the center to finish off the urn. Now, the urns we made this year on our front porch don't have any pine cones in them. We used grapevine balls this year, which are nice because they really can be used all year. Okay? So, does it look even? Looks good? Okay. Now we're going to put our big grapevine ball in here. I would put it on the opposite side of the magnolia. Okay, sorry about that. We had a little bit of a battery malfunction here. So at this point now we've had to put our birch, our ilex, and our greenery into our urn. And now we're gonna add the little extras here that make them special. So this is a large grapevine ball. So we're gonna put it at the bottom because you wanna put your bigger things at the bottom of your urns. So I've just put wire through the ball, and now I'm gonna wire it to my urn. And I'm going to wire it to this birch pole that's nice and sturdy in here. And there we go. Okay, that's not going anywhere. And now we're going to put 2 more grapevine balls in here. But just for fun, we're going to bring them up a little bit higher. So this guy's going to sit right there in the middle. And I think, I can't see, but I think this one should go right here, right? Sophia?
On the side of the other one, maybe in the front. Oh. Yeah, it's nice too. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna just wire that over here. Now you could, if you wanted to be more dramatic, you could bring it up even higher if you wanted. You could wire it up here if you'd like. That's gonna make a weird kind of line with our other balls. So we're just gonna put this guy right here. Okay, so this is a pine cone-less urn. Done. So we just want to thank you for the opportunity to do this again with you guys this year. It was a little bit different this year. Also, we'd like to invite you to come visit the shop. You are able to book appointments for private shopping, and we would love to see you. And we hope that you enjoyed our video.
Thank you very much.